à-bas-le-ciel.
Okay, but look, so I was asking you, how do you feel about it? Because I mean, it seems to me you're quite upset by it, and that's understandable because I think you care a lot about the vegan cause, you care a lot about digital veganism. But I would ask you, what is it you find upsetting, or what is it you're responding to in it?
Right, you're exactly right. And you know what? And the strange thing is that I care about Charles Marlowe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know why, but I kind of do, and I'm trying not to take sides, but it's hard because a lot of things that are said about Agil Mazard, you know what I mean, good and bad, and a lot of it's bad. But I'm just starting to get to know you now, and as far as everything that I know about you from my personal interactions, is that you're a good guy. I haven't seen anything, that can be proven that says that you're anything but like what you claim to be. Not a perfect human being, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like somebody who's intelligent and caring and trying to do things and cares about the movement and is trying to be a leader, right?
Yeah.
And is getting bogged down by all this personal, what they used to call the politics of personal destruction.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they're trying to destroy you, but I don't exactly know why. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the thing, I don't really know you that well. We're just kind of getting to know each other. But that's kind of the thing, from my perspective, is that like from what I know personally about you, you seem like a good guy, a genuine guy, and I haven't seen any evidence to suggest that you're guilty of any of the things that people are saying you're guilty of. Okay? Now, Charles, on the other hand, who I do like and I do care about, and who, like, to me personally, has always treated me with a lot of respect. Okay? Even though, like, whatever, my YouTube channel's got, you know what I mean, whatever, not even 2,000 views. You know what I mean? I got, like, 40 fucking 5 subscribers. But he always did, like, treat me with a lot of respect. And he was, like, one of the first people that actually, you know what I mean? Like, recognized me on social media. And we were kind of buddies or whatever on Facebook and that kind of thing. So, like, I thought he was a cool guy. And the whole story about him, in his recovery and all that kind of stuff, it's inspiring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And his honesty, but I thought it was his honesty about himself and his struggle, his relapsing, you know what I mean? Like, I thought he was cool. And obviously, he's like a very, like, kind of a fun guy, and he's entertaining.
Well, totally. Look,
And for me, I like anybody who really works hard, and he's working hard.
Yeah.
But basically, what I'm trying to say is that, like, all this stuff, I like you guys both, but I haven't seen any evidence of anything untoward. But with Charles, he's putting it out there himself, saying that it's about money, it's a business, you know what I mean? He don't care about veganism, just slandering Durianrider, saying he's got HIV, slandering you, putting out these fucking offensive pictures. You know what I mean? So, like, I care about Vegan Cheetah. I want him to succeed. I want him to be successful. I want him to be happy. I want him to stay out of prison. I want him to be a good example to people. But, like, some of this stuff is just unacceptable.
Right. Well, look, I tell you, obviously I'm a lot closer to Charles and I have been for a longer period of time. You've definitely mentioned one of the big sources of positive support he's had, which is just that people want to see him succeed. And that is because he was a drug addict. He went back, after he started his YouTube channel, he went back into rehab. Not quite prison, but, he was in rehab and then out of rehab. You probably know I made this video welcoming him back, when he got out of rehab. And there was this kind of big, broad public support just wanting him to succeed, just wanting him to be okay, because of the background he came from. And, he's struggled with a mix of kind of positive and negative motivations in terms of what he's doing on YouTube and why he's doing it. He had a period when he was being a bit more of a, social justice warrior, when he was being a bit more left-wing and talking about intersectionalism. And he used to talk about, like, socialism. I can remember having conversations with him. I do not describe myself as a socialist. I'm not socialist and I'm not left-wing. I'm pretty close to the middle of the political spectrum. I can remember having conversations with him about that. Obviously, I mean, you guys know I have a podcast up about it. I talked to him about, death and the meaning of life after his mom died. And he and I have also talked about our sex lives. There's a fair bit about that in, like, our podcasts that's, public. So I just say, like, it's not all private conversation. So we were pretty close friends in that sense. And, yeah, on a very basic level, people just wanted to see him succeed, wanted to see him do well. And, I think also in the past, before his channel was huge, there's the positive support of wanting him to do well, but also people didn't really have any, hard expectations for him. People weren't looking at him and saying, oh, like, you owe us something. If you don't deliver this for the vegan community, we're disappointed with you. And as soon as you get some level of success, people do look at you that way. I mean, you yourself, Traveler, you yourself, Leonard, you may experience that soon enough. Like, if your following grows, then people start having these kind of demands and expectations on you. And you say, whoa, this is just something I do in my spare time. I'm not PETA. I'm not People with Ethical Treatment. I'm not some huge institution. I'm one guy with a camera, trying to do something positive. So, he came out of, in that sense, he had those sort of advantages in terms of how people regarded him, what they expected from him. And, from my perspective, he's really destroyed that. He's destroyed all the goodwill that people had toward him. And, of course, you saw how much goodwill there was towards him when his channel was very briefly deleted. For 30 days or something, his channel was deleted. So, again, everyone just wanted him to succeed. And we were all kind of biased. We were all kind of overlooking the negative aspects of what he'd been doing for that reason, just wanting to support him in that time of trouble or what have you. But, with all that having been said, my most recent video about him just has garbage content in the title. That's a term he used to use himself. He used to say the problem with Freely is that she produces garbage content, which, it's one of the problems with Freely for sure. And, today that's the most fundamental thing about Cheetah is that he's producing garbage content. Look, sorry, you said so much. There's something else I wanted to respond to. I mean, I really do understand why you feel upset and why you feel rattled, but many people do. People who are my fans and people who just care about veganism, get really upset by this stuff. The perspective I see it in, though, is this. If you look at other people who have been important voices in veganism and the struggle they had to go through just to be known, just to be a known name, to be recognized, to have their opinions listened to and taken seriously, often it was decades of very, very hard work with a lot of suffering. And I haven't had to do that. So like in 2 years within veganism, I started with a blog. You guys have recently probably seen that blog, the Vegan Mind Tricks blog. And then, I started a YouTube channel. And, very rapidly, I have become one of the best known names. And I know you're saying, like, people make up lies about me. But I'm also one of the people who's most respected and where people, I get fan mail from people really saying that I've changed their lives. People who deeply appreciate what I've done. And who talk in detail about the way in which I've changed their lives or changed their philosophy of life or their worldview or something. Not every channel is like that. I mean, there are channels that are way more popular than mine, but that don't have that really, deep level of connection with the audience, or where it's not, just the topics being talked about are not that deep. Channels that are just about cooking or food shopping, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's very different from what my role has been in veganism. So, overall, I can't complain, both short-term and long-term. If you look at, over 2 years, what have I been able to make happen? I've really set up a very positive basis for having a very meaningful role in veganism and ecology. And I look at the next 5 years, and again, I only see a basis for something really positive. So look, that doesn't mean I'm unaware of the negative aspects of this situation, but I think that's maybe the sense in which I'm more calm and more relaxed about this than other people. If this had happened to me back when my channel only had 100 viewers, maybe I would have just deleted the channel. I think a lot of people do that. They get this kind of negative backlash early on, and there's nothing positive in the other side of the balance. So they just get scared out of YouTube or scared out of politics or what have you. But for me, I can look at it and say, look, even if it's only 2,000 people who care about my channel, to me that's a big number. And it's 2,000 people who really care. It's 2,000 people who really appreciate what I do, what I've done in the past, and the potential I've got to do something positive in the future. So from that perspective, there's a sense in which I can't complain, right?
Well, yeah, and I'm glad that you called in when you did, because I was just starting to get on the subject. You know what I mean? And I'm glad that you feel the way that you do, and and you're not taking it too personally or too, you know what I mean? I was shocked, and I was saddened, and I was really disappointed.
Right.
And here I am doing this freaking marathon sessions, trying to bring some civility, right, and then Charles Marlowe is just bringing it to like new lows.
Right. Look, I totally agree, but this is the other thing that's different when you're bigger. The other thing that's different is the lost potential, right? If somebody with only 200 viewers is doing what Charles did, and there are a ton. I mean, the number of channels that are doing slander and insults. Like I saw that back when Durianrider first started insulting me. Like back when Durianrider first started insulting me, there were people who just believed what Durianrider said 100%. So there were all these channels that were seriously defaming me, like saying, really terrible things about me. But they, most of them only have 200 viewers, 500 viewers or something. It's all a bit of a joke. And I actually wonder how many of those people have now deleted their videos and feel ashamed. Because most of those people, even if they're stupid, over time, over a period of 4 months, they figured out that what Durianrider was saying was either 100% a lie or 90% a lie, but they figured out the extent to which they were being lied to by someone they trusted. But like someone in Charles's position, in terms of having an audience, etc., you're not just looking at what they do as bad. You're also looking at it as a wasted opportunity, right? It's also like, well, think about what you could be doing for veganism, or even what you could be doing for YouTube in a sense, right? Like, for me, it's all about veganism. But even if you just think about it as a social media platform to do or say anything positive, to do or say anything interesting, this is something tremendously negative. And as I just had a video up talking about the fact this really does have negative impacts on people's personal lives. But aside from that, you are squandering an opportunity to save the planet, help the animals, just help propel and propound veganism, whatever you want to say about it, right? It's squandering a precious opportunity that thousands of other vegans wish they had, including vegans who are like, respectable university professors or respectable authors. There's so many vegans that nobody has heard of, who've worked for years in like community activism or what have you, and who will never have an audience the size of Charles Marlowe. So I'll give you one example now, if anyone wants to Google this. And I'm not endorsing this person. I'm not saying I'd agree with her. There is a woman named Doris Lynn. So first name Doris, and her last name is just L-I-N, Lynn, Doris Lynn. And if you look up her resume, she has this, incredibly long list of causes related to veganism, animal rights, environmental protection. She brought a lawsuit against the state of New Jersey, challenging the legal basis for bear hunting, blah, blah, blah. Like whatever. She's sort of toiled for years, and nobody's, I'm not saying this to insult her. Compared to someone like Vegan Cheetah, I can say nobody's ever heard of her and nobody ever is going to hear of her. Now what is her perspective? I've looked up a little bit. I think she actually does watch vegan YouTubers. I think she actually is one of the many like more respectable people in veganism, animal rights, ecology who looks at this stuff with a sense of horror or what have you. But whether it's the older generation and the younger generation, again, there's this whole question of wasted talent, lost opportunities, the voices that get silenced by this. I think someone like Doris Lynn now, I don't think I have a chance in hell of having her do an interview on my channel, right? Like, think about that. So she's trying to be a respectable political leader, advocate, involved in this stuff. Would she be willing to appear on YouTube on the à-bas-le-ciel show? And I can tell you, I've never written to her, but I have written to several people who are university professors whose whole careers are about veganism and animal rights, and I never get a reply, or sometimes I get a first reply that's one sentence longer than nothing, even though I can say to them at this point, look, if you appear on my channel, I can guarantee you that 2,000 people will hear your lecture, hear what you have to say about veganism, and, very likely 5,000 people. If it's an interesting video, I'll get 5,000 viewers. And they know, and I say to them explicitly, if you go to an animal rights conference, maybe only 30 or 50 people are going to hear the message, and it won't change anything in the world. But, please consider appearing on my YouTube channel. Please consider, basically having a Skype conversation and putting it on YouTube. And you can't get that to happen. Now, on a deep level, why can't you? It partly is because of Cheetah, and it partly is because of people like Durianrider and Freely. It partly is because the digital vegan demimonde has so much dragged the name through veganism. It has dragged the name of veganism through the mud, has made it something despicable and laughable. But anyway, I was just saying, in a sense that is one of the prices that we're paying right now in terms of veganism kind of having been made into a circus or a sideshow or a joke on the internet. There are advantages, like people get viewers and a few people make money. Like, only a few people make money out of this game. That's another thing to be clear about. But, there are disadvantages also, to be sure.
Wow.
Was there anything specific you wanted to ask me about? I mean, I'm cool.
This is some great broadcasting here. But you really, unfortunately, can you guys hear Isol in the chat room? It's so I can hardly hear you. It's frustrating because.
Oh, that's too bad.
What I am getting is actually, I feel a lot better than I did. You know what I mean? Before you called, because we were just touching on this subject. And so I spent like the first half an hour, you know what I mean, going over like what we've accomplished the last 5 days. You know what I mean? Putting in like 44 hours of broadcasting, all these amazing interviews, you know what I mean? All this amazing people in the chat room, you know what I mean? Like all this kind of stuff. Like yesterday, we had so many likes. We had so many people dumping likes into this broadcast. We were blowing away Vegan Cheetah, who had 10 times more viewers. You see what I'm saying? Like we were blowing him away. We had more than twice the many likes, even though he had 10 times the viewers.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what you always have to think about. You have to think about the depth and meaning of the connection, right? I mean, like one of the signs of maturity, you have to understand, not all attention is good attention. Not all interaction with your audience is a meaningful interaction. And, I mean, the other thing I'll say from my perspective, I think I should wrap up this call. It's too bad the audio quality is bad at your end. I have recorded this, so I can post this as a little mini podcast or something. I really do view these things in terms of setting up a basis for the next 5 years or the next 30 years or the next 50 years. And when you view it from that angle, again, that's one reason why I'm not too upset about all the lies being told about me right now, people kind of building a mythology around me. It's better for me that we deal with this now instead of 5 years from now or 10 years from now. Like, okay, so the fake scandals, the lies, and, a lot of it's just fiction being told about me on the internet. The reality of my life is not that exciting. And, not everyone's an idiot. You have to appreciate the idiots are the loudest people on the internet, but there are a lot of people who appreciate what's going on, who realize that certain people have a very strong motivation to lie, and they are lying. But from my perspective also, I'm really committed to this cause for the rest of my life. So I've got to say, hey, okay, let's deal with this now. I'll see you in 5 years. What is Vegan Cheetah going to be doing in 5 years? And what I mean is, what is he going to be doing for the vegan movement? And I have that question for other people too. What is Henya Mania, going to be doing for veganism in 5 years? I'm not saying that out of hatred, but let's be real. Izzy Davis or something. What is Izzy Davis going to be doing for veganism in 5 years? A lot of these people, I have no faith they're going to be doing anything positive for the movement. And then on the other hand, I mean, I look at somebody like you. I just met you a few days ago, and I do have hope. I think, why not? Hey, this is somebody who could do something positive. This is somebody who could make a positive and meaningful contribution to veganism. And in a sense, almost anyone can. Anyone's welcome to try. But it certainly is sad that some of the people who are most prominent now, who are the greatest luminaries, are people where I have no hope at all that they're going to do anything positive for veganism as a movement in the next 5 years. And me, in as much as I'm confident that I will, or that I'll at least try, I say, okay, fine. Let's deal with the rumors now. Let's deal with the fake scandals now. And then 5 years from now, hopefully I've built a whole constituency, a whole public that trusts me and that are able to look back on that stuff and laugh. And I can make a comparison here in politics. Donald Trump, think about how many sex scandals Donald Trump had back in the 1980s. I think those were real sex scandals. Donald Trump, he was married to one woman, and then there was this other woman who appeared in Playboy magazine eventually, who was his girlfriend, and then Donald Trump got divorced. And it was this whole scandal, but this is decades ago now. Donald Trump now is running for president, and nobody is questioning his sex life. There are all kinds of things to question. His politics. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not a Donald Trump supporter. That's not my point. My point is just the passage of time, even with a real scandal, even with real questions like that. If Donald Trump had gone through those same scandals now or in the future, it would be a huge problem for his political career. But he was able to address that early on. So in some ways for me, it's actually advantageous to just endure this now and say, okay, 5 years from now, people, year 2021, what's up? Who's really working for the cause? Who's really building a foundation? Who's really building a constituency? Who's trying to really make something positive happen? Locally, nationally, internationally, on YouTube, at City Hall, at Parliament, whatever. Hit me up.
À-bas-le-ciel.